Hello everyone, today is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025. I'm your host Dennis. Today we're going to be taking a road trip to Paterson, New Jersey, but first, in the first half, we're going to be taking a stop around Grand Central Terminal. Why are we stopping here? It's because right now it is 4:38 a.m. and we want to beat something called congestion pricing. Yes, I talked a whole video about this 2 weeks ago. And the overnight rate ends at 5 a.m. So we're gonna try to beat this thing before 5 a.m. So right now we are on the Long Island Expressway, also known as Interstate 495 westbound. The service road alongside us is called the Horace Harding Expressway. This section of the Horace Harding is named after James Horace Harding, a finance magnate who directed the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad and the New York Municipal Railway System. Harding used his influence to promote the development of the Long Island roadways, lending strong support to Robert Moses' Great Parkway Plan. Harding also urged the construction of a highway from Queens Boulevard to the Nassau County line in order to provide better access to Oakland Country Club, where he was a member. After his death, the boulevard he helped build was named for him. Horace Harding was not related to President Warren G. Harding. So that's why the name is actually is very fitting for this section of roadway, because he's the one who actually helped build this. So Interstate 495 is 66 miles, which is very questionable. It's an error, maybe an error from the Federal Highway Administration. Because you measure this road, it seems to be about 71 miles on Google Maps, connecting Midtown Manhattan to Riverhead, Suffolk County in Long Island. But if you look into the 2017 New York State DOT travel log, it says that this section of highway from the Van Wyck Expressway, Interstate 678 that we just passed by, to Interstate 278, the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway, the BQE, this is considered not to be interstate highway, and it's New York Route 495. So this section is about 5 miles, so that's why when you get 71 minus 5, you get 66 miles. So this is an expressway built on Long Island. Remember that Queens is technically on Long Island, even though geographically we are on Long Island. But as a government side or municipality perspective, we're technically part of New York City. So the LIE extends through Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk County. There's a portion of Interstate 495 called the Queens Midtown Expressway, which is our control city. We're not going to be heading there because it's tolled tunnel by the MTA Bridges and Tunnel. But that also extends into Midtown Manhattan around 2nd Avenue and 37th Street. Despite having the number 4 as the first digit in 495 being even, it is not a connector, bypass, nor beltway of I-95. In fact, it is actually a spur route of I-95 with connection to I-95 via Interstate 295, also known as the Clearview Expressway. The reason why the original number was 495 was because 495, if it was planned correctly, it would have connected with New Jersey Route 495 along the Lincoln Tunnel to connect with I-95 around the New Jersey Turnpike. But what about the eastern side, right? Because that just dead ends into Riverhead. Well, actually, there could have been a connection via a long bridge that could have connected from Riverhead to possibly Rhode Island or other connections in here. And because those plans doesn't seem very reasonable, very costly, and the community seems to oppose it, we currently have this setup like this. So technically the 4 should be renumbered, but this roadway existed since the 1950s, so it's been here for a long time. Now, since we passed by Queens Boulevard, this expressway is called the Queens Midtown Expressway, and its length is from Queens Boulevard, State Route 25, through the Queens Midtown Tunnel. This section opened in the 1950s, much earlier, probably around 55. And starting in 1998, this section of roadway between the Grand Central Parkway, exit 22, to Van Dam Street, exit 15, was rebuilt in 1998 and probably extended into the early 2000s. The renovation cost about $200 million, equivalent to $349 million in 2023 money, entailing renovating the highway's main and service road, improving bridges, and replacing drains. All right, so we're passing a major intersection, the BQE, I-278. This section of roadway, the lower path, I believe, was constructed much later in the 1960s, opened in 62, because there was so much traffic going on that there were so many cars that they even need to use a traffic light to even do the merge. So this section was rebuilt and much better flow of traffic here. Okay, so we're going to be exiting here at exit 16 for Hunters Point Avenue. This is a very useful strategy to go to the Queensboro Bridge, because usually the Van Dam Street exit 15, is constantly full of traffic. So this is a lot better. My recommendation, if you want to try to beat congestion pricing, this is the best way to do it. We're going to go travel on the Queensboro Bridge. And this is a stunning view of the New York City skyline. One of the top sights along part from, I think you can see it from the Bronx or see it from New Jersey. But this is the perfect site from the BQE or the LIE. Get a perfect view of Manhattan. I think right now maybe a little hazy, it's a little humid, but you do see a lot of the buildings here, and there are a lot of lights here. It's the city that never sleeps for a reason. All right, so right of the split, you can travel along Hunters Point Avenue on the right, but I think going on the left is a little bit easier and less crowded. So let's just stay on the left side towards Greenpoint Avenue. This section of the service road is called Borden Avenue because before the interstate highway here, or the expressway, was built, it was built on boulevards and roadways. So we're going to go straight. Yep, we're passing by Greenpoint Avenue. Okay, follow the lines here, and then we're going to go turn onto Gale Avenue, and then it's going to dump into Van Dam Street. So follow that taxi. Yeah, and there's a sign that says it right here. Right now we're in a section of Queens called Long Island City. This area is known to have a lot of lots. If you see in my YouTube channel that I've done acting before in Law and Order for one episode, they usually film the show from NBC around this area, either in lots, and even the court scene that they love to replay on all of it is done around here. I think it's around 48th Avenue and 30th Street. Okay, we just made that light. Perfect. Yeah, so typically the Queen Street usually have a grid, but if you see a lot of the name streets, it's usually a remnant of the old naming system they used to have in Queens. Because Queens used to, I think, before it was part of New York City in 1898, consolidation, it used to be part of independent cities. And Long Island City was actually its own city back then. All right, so this is the route that we're going to be heading towards Queens Boulevard, State Route 25, and we're going to have to take the lower level because we're going to try to get into the congestion charge. Now, why are we doing this if we're not planning to really stop by in Manhattan? Well, the reason why is because if you take the, we don't want to take the George Washington Bridge because it's technically out of the way. You're technically going up north and a little bit east. And if you go through Midtown, where there's barely any traffic at this time, it's kind of, Route 3 is kind of like a diagonal that meets with I-80. So you save a lot of gas going that way. And it's less stressful because that, if you saw in the video that I posted a few weeks ago, the FDR Drive is pretty dangerous with its curves and not being real interstate standards and being a parkway. And because a lot of people want to avoid congestion pricing, the George Washington Bridge section is not tolled. So you usually get a lot of these trucks that are very slow, very congested, and they want to take that way to cross into New Jersey. Let's stay in the left lane. This is a long flatbed truck. We have about 11 minutes remaining to cross this section, so hopefully we can get it in. Right now we're underneath the elevated subway tracks, the 7 train, the IRT, Interborough Rapid Transit Flushing line. The subway is run by the MTA, New York City, which stands for the Metropolitan Transit Authority, New York City Transit. And it operates all the subways and all, certain bus lines as well. So the 7 train, considered to be one of the best lines in this whole system, connects from 34th Street, Hudson Yards, the Jacob Japhet Center around 11th Avenue and West 34th Street, to Flushing, Main Street, Queens. This section of the elevated tracks was built and opened on April 21st, 1917. Over here, we're going to be crossing Northern Boulevard, State Route 25A. We traveled on Northern Boulevard last time. Oh, watch out for that. Let's see if we can try to make this light, because then we would be good. Try to make the intersection. Is there room on the left? Let's just pass this. Okay, I think the bridge mainly takes about 3 minutes to cross, so I think we will get the congestion zone no problem. So there used to be elevated subway tracks along heading straight, which is the northern side, Queens Plaza, but that has been demolished and only the southbound tracks are currently existing. Now when we meet here in Queens Plaza, or Queensboro Plaza, the elevated track, the 7 train also meets the BMT, Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Astoria line, currently connecting the N and W trains. If you want to go to Coney Island, the N train is there for you. Although the frequency may not be that great, and it has the nickname as, you know, never here, the N. Whoop. Okay, so we got to merge here. Only trucks are only allowed to take the lower level. The upper level that we took a few weeks ago, you can see a video on that, is only for passenger cars only. So because we dump into between 59th Street and 60th Street, we're gonna dump into the toll zone, and we want to come here. We're gonna come back later on the return trip, because Patterson is technically in the New York City metropolitan area. It's only about 20 miles away from Midtown if you drive. So we're definitely gonna come back within the same day, so we won't be charged twice. 225, the way to go. So right now we're on the Queensboro Bridge, the Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge, also known as the 59th Street Bridge because of the street in Manhattan, or the Blackwell Island Bridge, which is the former name for Roosevelt Island. This bridge opened in March 30th, 1909, and it is a cantilever bridge, or a truss bridge. The 7,449 cantilever truss bridge carries 4 lanes of traffic on both upper and lower roadways. The outer roadways used to carry vehicular traffic, but the northern roadway has converted to both bikes and pedestrians pathway in 2000. However, it is very dangerous because the roadway is very narrow, can only fit 1 car width, and it is very dangerous because the bikes move really fast and could intersect with pedestrians. Sometimes accidents happen, and a lot of people are very, very nervous about wanting to walk this section of the bridge. Then, after 25 years, May 18th, 2025, only about 2 months ago, the southern outer roadway, which used to carry eastbound traffic into Queens, was closed to traffic so that the bike lanes can exclusively ride along the northern roadway and the pedestrian traffic can travel along the southern outer roadway. And it's a great view, I gotta say. because you get to see more of downtown Manhattan. All right, another history that we can see here, the outer roadways used to carry the tram. Oh, and it looks like we passed the congestion zone, so we did not pay $9. Thank goodness. And it says begin toll zone. We're gonna head down 2nd Avenue South, head into 45th Street. Up ahead, you can see is the Roosevelt Tramway, built in opened in 1976. This tramway used to open here because before the subway tunnel was opened in 1989, this was actually a much cheaper option for residents of Manhattan to go access Roosevelt Island. Usually it's a very nice tourist attraction. I remember Spider-Man used to be here. We just passed on the left, which is the former trolley terminal. Yeah, the Queensboro Bridge used to carry trolley cars. This was actually in service from the bridge opening in 1909 until 1957, where the outer roadways, each direction, used to carry trolleys, one per direction. The trolley service was eventually discontinued later, and we saw that on the left is the kiosk for the entrance. If you go down the lower ramp, which enters 60th Street heading eastbound, you can see that there's actually some doors for the trolley. So the trolley would actually go underneath us, and people would exit here. I think it's honestly a pretty dangerous entrance and exit ramp around here because a lot of cars go here and there's been a lot of accidents, so that's why you saw before there's a gate. Right now we're traveling on 2nd Avenue South. What I want to talk about here is the Manhattan Street Grid. This street grid was organized by the Commissioner's Plan of 1811, which is the original design for the streets of Manhattan above Houston Street, considered to be 0 Street, to 155th Street, consisting of 12 numbered avenue from 1st through 12th, being the numbers going in increasing order from east to west. Usually not typical in our coordinate system. But there's also 4 lettered avenues, A through D, which comes from east to west. And I think this grid actually makes sense because the center line is more like like a y-axis, so then you want to be able to organize the grid like this, so it's more organized. All right, so technically the grid, we're technically traveling southbound, but the grid is rotated 29 degrees east of true north, so we're technically heading southwest. Okay, we're approaching 49th Street, so we got to start heading on the right side. 2nd Avenue and all these avenues used to be bi-directional, but in the 1950s, for probably a lot of traffic going on, it's been converted to one-way avenues on most streets. The only exception for some of it is 3rd Avenue, section of Broadway, north of 59th Street, and Park Avenue, which used to be called 4th Avenue. So let's turn into East 45th Street. We're on the east side of Manhattan. We're going to be heading into Grand Central. This is going back to the Commissioner's Plan of 1811. This is considered to be the most important document in New York City's development, and the plan has been described as encompassing as the Republican predilection for control and balance and distrust of nature. It's been described by the commission that created it as combining beauty, order, and convenience. Okay, so right here we're crossing 3rd Avenue. So the next avenue we're crossing is Lexington Avenue. This is actually in addition to the plan. This is not original, added in the 1830s and 40s, as well as Madison Avenue, because of this guy named Samuel B. Ruggles, due to the influence of adding more increasing development into Gramercy Park. All right, we're entering into Grand Central. Let's see if we can find a parking spot around here. Used to be a park. Gramercy Park is around 20th Street and Lexington Avenue, and they wanted to encourage development. And there's a lot of businesses around Lexington and Madison Avenue. I think Madison Avenue has a lot of newer buildings, so seems to be more like the industrious side or more innovative side of Manhattan. 5th Avenue is technically known for the big shop stores. Lexington Avenue is known to have the original subway. Yeah, the first subway that opened in 1904. The Lexington Avenue line that carries the green subway lines, the 4, 5, and 6 lines, used to carry around here. Let's see if there's a spot around here. If not, then let's turn left on Vanderbilt Avenue. Grand Central Terminal. Oh, let's park right here, around this corner. Actually, no, seems to be reserved. Okay, let's keep going straight. Okay, it's always stop sign. Okay, we're not exactly going to be parking here. We're just going to be like taking a mini break around here. Let's see, there's usually a lot of spots around here. Now we're going to turn west until 43rd Street. Yeah, let's park on the left. That looks like a good spot to drop off. Yep. Yep. Still a lot of lights here. Okay. Yeah, the first subway used to open in, 1904. So, yeah, you can shut it off the car. So, yeah, we're gonna be here a while. I'm gonna wait until probably around the day gets a little brighter. There's usually no traffic around this area. Hey, and if you want a peaceful, quiet walk around New York, here it is, Yeah, so the subway system was very innovative because Manhattan used to have a lot of elevated lines. So we just want so that's why you see in Manhattan, you don't really see elevated lines apart from a section of Upper Manhattan. I think it's called Manhattanville, around Broadway and West 125th Street. The only section in Manhattan that has an elevated subway line. And it's much more better for the city. It looks cleaner, less noisy, and much faster. Easier to maintain, I guess, than elevated lines. All right, I'm gonna end the video here. Stay tuned to part 2 as we go into New Jersey, heading into Patterson. Catch you next time. Bye.